Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to ChatGPT 101, Getting Started. This webinar is done in collaboration with CPA Academy. You should be able to download your handouts from the handouts section. If you don't have access to that, you can use the link of the live slides that's on the screen there, and I have it on the live chat as well, so you can see it if you want to look at the slides live. Reason why I like doing live slides on top of the PDF slides is because if I have any links of any live chats or that I do on the fly, many people want to kind of access that link and see it so they can see the same thing in their ChatGPT themselves. So I go ahead and copy and paste those links into the slides. Okay, so use the link that's right there on the screen in the chat, so you can get access to the slides. That's bit.ly/ChatGPT 101 CPA. Just use that link. You'll be able to open up those slides in a second page if you don't have access to the PDFs. All right, let's get right to it. So we're going to talk about myself really quick and about this series, all the different ChatGPT webinars I do here in CPA Academy. I'm going to talk about why ChatGPT. There are so many alternatives to ChatGPT today, and it gets a little bit confusing because it's like, okay, there's a new contender. There's Claude, and there's Google Gemini, and there's, so there's a whole bunch of other options, and people kind of say, okay, should I use ChatGPT? Should I use something else? So I'm going to talk about that briefly. But then we're going to go into like ChatGPT navigation and walkthrough so you understand exactly what all the buttons do. And then we'll do a couple of prompting examples. I see a couple people here at CPA Academy, and because I'm a CPA myself, people are saying, well, I want to learn how to use ChatGPT on how it applies to my profession specifically. So in this particular webinar will be mostly around the basics, and the more advanced sort of follow-up webinars will be maybe doing more accounting sort of examples, although we will be doing some accounting prompts. But in terms of like real practical applications, you want to go to the more advanced webinars. Okay, so about myself really quick, I've been practicing in Florida doing bookkeeping and tax since 2009. I'm a advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor. I've been for a long time. I have a YouTube channel. The links are on the slide. I'm the founder of a software company called Right Tool for QuickBooks Online. And I'm also the host of Reframe 2025 conference. If you have any questions for me, things that I don't cover in this webinar that require, reading particular scenarios, just email me and I'll do my best to answer. If you want to see me live, if you want to meet me this year, you definitely want to come to my event, which is Reframe 2025. We officially sold out all of our tickets, and we have a couple of the tickets left for the people that canceled that we're having them, we're reselling it in their behalf. And there's only like 9 of them left. So you can email me if you have any questions about that, or go to the website and put your order there, and then we'll put you in contact with the tickets that are being resold. But the conference is officially sold. We don't have any more tickets to sell. We're helping people that can make it resell their tickets. So you definitely want to come. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about pricing. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, specifically how AI is going to affect pricing pricing of our professional services. So this is what we're going to be, let's start with why ChatGPT is so popular. First, they were sort of first to market. When you think artificial intelligence, chatbot, people think of ChatGPT immediately. Sort of like Google became a verb for searching stuff on the web. ChatGPT is a verb for using any sort of AI. For sure, some folks use and swear by Grok or Claude or Google Gemini. Or Copilot, whatever. People swear by their own system that they use and it's working for them. I personally use ChatGPT, not getting paid by them, and not endorsing them. It just happens to be the most powerful one. It is because it's truly multimodal. It can do web search. It can do Canvas, which is collaborate writing and coding. It can do scheduled prompts. It can read PDF. It can interpret images. It can analyze spreadsheets. It can go into voice mode, conversational voice mode. It can generate images. It can do a study mode for students. It can do app connectivity. It can connect to your Google, Gmail, Dropbox, Box, Notion, Outlook, SharePoint, and interact with data in those systems. It can do deep research, and they can do custom GPTs. It can do video generation. It has the agent mode that runs a little browser and does a couple of tasks for you. It is truly the most multimodal, the most efficient a system of them all. And it's the most commonly used by third-party software. So if you use any software out there that uses or claims to use AI, there's a 90% chance that they're using OpenAI's or ChatGPT's engine for that, because and it's also very cheap. It costs anywhere between $1 and $15 per million words. So there's a lot of there's just it's you get a lot of power for very little cost. So third-party app developers or software companies can add AI without having to develop it. They can just connect to OpenAI's engine. So that's the reason. Also, if you go to this slide, I gave you links to all the alternatives to ChatGPT, so you can click on any of those, and then it gets you to the homepage of things that are not ChatGPT. They behave just like ChatGPT, Grok, Copilot, Meta, Claude. Like it will basically look and feel just like ChatGPT, right? It's just a conversation that you can have, but they are essentially their competitors. The only sort of exception to the rule is Perplexity. Perplexity actually uses ChatGPT. It can use ChatGPT. So when you use Perplexity, you actually choose whether it uses ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Grok. So Perplexity is actually one of the most interesting ones because it aggregates all the engines and you can choose which one you want to use or have it choose the best one based on the query. And it knows which one's best. There's also a couple of China-based ones that are growing super fast, DeepSeek and Qwen, for you to check it out. I recommend this little link that's here in the slides, which is called the LM Arena. LM is for language model. Because LM Arena, you can click on the leaderboard, and in the leaderboard always gives you a live ranking of crowd-based answers. So, for example, right now, as of today, Gemini just ranked a little bit higher than GPT-5. But I mean, we're talking about small percentage points. And then we have Claude, and then we have more GPTs. And then if you scroll down, you see Grok and Qwen. That's a Chinese one we talked about. And then they also rank them based on the context. So ranked by text, by chat, or by web development, or by vision. That's it interpreting images, or ranked by text to image to create images, or for image editing, or for search. So it has all sorts of different rankings. And I think I'm looking at this website at least once a week because I kind of want to know. I want to be in the know. I want to know exactly what's going on. Let's go through a complete walkthrough of ChatGPT. Now, the slides themselves are actually for reference. So I'm not going to go through the slides. I'm going to jump straight into the software. And then we're going to go and kind of walk you through every single button you can press in ChatGPT. I'm also going to go one step backwards. And for those that don't have a ChatGPT account, I'm actually going to log out and kind of show you what that experience looks like for you to create a ChatGPT account from scratch. So you go to chatgpt.com. If you don't have an account, you're going to click here where it says sign up for free. Click on sign up for free. And then you're going to add your email address. So I'm going to add an email address here. Or you can use your Google, your Microsoft, your Apple, and your cell phone to connect. But I'm just going to add an email address there. Click continue. Then I'm going to create the password. So let me create a password here. Okay. 12 characters. So I got to go a little higher than normal. Perfect. Then click on continue. And that's it. Now you're going to get an email. So I'm going to get a code on my email just to kind of verify my account. And you're going to copy and paste that. Again, very easy to create a free account. No credit card required. I'll put here Hector Garcia. And I'll put a fake date of birth here. 01/01/1970. Continue. I don't know why he's asking me for my date of birth. That's a really good question. People are asking me on the chat, like, why do you have to give it a date of birth? Okay, give it a fake one. I don't know what to tell you on that. So that's what a free account looks like. Okay, there'll be a big button up here that says upgrade your plan to get into the paid plans. So for the paid plans, you can start with the free, kind of play with it. Then you can upgrade to Plus, which is a personal account that's going to have a couple more features, and it's going to have less limits. So the free one, you'll notice that after a while, it'll kind of say, sorry, we're done with the limits. Or you can go all the way to $200 a month for the pro account. So if you want really, really if you want to have unlimited access, like no limitations. It gives you unlimited access. So the free, even the plus, has for the most part unlimited access, but after a certain point, it throttles you. Like it says, hey, you gotta wait an hour, you gotta wait 2 hours, or something like that. And the business plan, which is the one that we normally recommend for firms, for accounting firms, is going to be the team version, which is $25 a month per user. You have to have at least 2 users. This is the one that has full security, SOC 2, Type 2, high encryption. This is the one that they advertise that can do all that. And if you have a little bit of a larger company, you can go to the GPT Enterprise, which was previously limited to 150 users minimum. And I read somewhere that they're going to now reduce it to 15 users minimum. And that one, I believe, is about $60 a month. I don't use the Enterprise edition. I use the Team edition. So those are the options you have when paying for one. And again, you could always try or start with the free version. Then on the left-hand chat, what you're going to see is you're going to see the new chat button. Okay, so that's if you want to start a brand new chat. Search chats if you have any historical chats, which I don't have any at the moment. And library is for any images you have created. It will keep a history of all your created images. Sora is the video creation tool, which I believe that is extremely limited. I don't do a whole lot of video creation. It's just not something that's practical for me, but you can try that. Super limited on the free edition. And then GPTs are for you to explore. The current GPTs, you can't create a custom GPT unless you have a paid account, but you can at least explore the custom GPTs, which is interesting unto itself. So let's start a new chat. Up here in the top where it says GPT, if you were in a paid edition, this is where you can choose your model. Right now, you can't choose the model, so you have to use whatever model it chooses for you. Here in the plus button, this is where I can add a particular file. If I wanted to analyze a file, I can go to study mode. I can create image mode. I can do what's called reasoning mode, which it's automatically selected on the paid editions. There's deep research, okay, and it only gives you 4 deep research per month, it looks like. And then under more, you have the option to add web search, Canvas, and then to connect any of your drives. I believe that to connect your drives, you have to be on a paid edition, but it looks like this one allow me to go and connect the drive without being in a paid edition. Actually, that would be news to me. That you could in fact connect the drives with a free edition. So give that a shot. But to my knowledge, it should prompt you to be on a paid account to then connect to any of these. Then we have here just like a couple of options here. This is just to like get you started. This is if you can't think of what you want to do, you click on one of these options and then it kind of takes you from there. Then we have the dictate mode. That's if you don't want to type, you click on dictate. And then we have the advanced voice mode, which is actually conversational. It's 100% conversational, right? So instead of typing, it just talks back to you. Then we start with our question or our prompt. Okay, so some people swear by having a specific system in place to give you a really good prompt, and I'll give you a system for that. And some people just say, just start typing and let it do its thing. Okay, so I'm gonna do dictate mode because I don't like to type, and then I'm gonna ask it a question. Help me write a short email to a client that wants to buy a $250,000 Mercedes G-Wagon and make it deductible for their business, period. Keep in mind that I am a CPA and I want to make sure that any code that I cite actually comes from real data. Okay, so I do my dictation. Again, I didn't type anything. It interprets what I said. Okay, and it doesn't have any context. Like the only context I gave it is that I'm a CPA and that's it. And then you start with that, and then it starts answering. Okay, so since you're a CPA, you'll want to keep this professional, concise, referential to the actual law. And here it comes with IRC code and depreciation. It explains it, and then it writes the letter to my client. So great. Okay, now it doesn't have any more context on whether or not it's deductible or not deductible, or we recommend it, we don't recommend it. That's where you the oracle, right, have to add more stuff to it. It's just being very generic and saying, yeah, because of these sections you could deduct it. Then the other problem is justification, right? And then so at the bottom here, it gives you a couple of controls. So if I like this exactly how it is, I just click here on copy, and then I just go in there, copy and paste it in my email. Good to go. If I like the answer, I click on good response, and I'm giving feedback to ChatGPT saying, you did a good job with this response, and it trains the model back, or it adds, it adds a little tick somewhere in the record saying this was a good approach to the answer. If I didn't like the answer, there's a thumbs down button, which I'll show you in a second. If I press read out loud, it will read it for me.
Since you're a CPA, you'll want to keep this professional, concise, and reference actual tax law. For a $250,000 G-Wagon, the main business tax deduction angle is IRC 179 expense.
Okay, so you can have it read it to you. So let's call it the audiobook version of working with ChatGPT, right? And then if I want to share just the answer, so not the entire chat. So we'll talk about shares in a second. So I can share the entire chat that contains all the back and forth. But if I want to share a particular answer, I click here, it says share, and then I can copy link, put it in LinkedIn, Reddit, or whatever. And then I can copy the link, and then I'll give that link to someone. So I'll show you really quick. I'm going to open a new incognito window, and let's just assume that I emailed that link to someone. Well, when that person clicks on that someone without having a ChatGPT account, so I open an incognito window, they get to see their response. Okay, and then if they want to chat with it, they can. They just have to make sure that they log in. Somebody can literally pick up where you left off on that chat. So it's really, really cool. Okay, so that's sharing that. And then if you don't like the answer, or you want a new answer, you can click on this button that says try again. And this is really cool. It gives you a couple of options here. So you can say ask to change the response, and then you can add a little text saying, be a little more formal or something like that. So basically you're saying change the response based on this specific instructions, which you don't have to go that route. You can say try again, and it'll give you it will answer again, and it'll give you an entirely different answer. It'll give you the same content, so to speak, because it's the same knowledge, but it'll give you a different approach. It'll just reformat the answer. You can go to add details or be more concise. So for example, I'm going to click on add details, and it'll re-give me the answer just a little bit more detailed, right? So it's just going to expand. It's going to expand on the answer. So I'll just write a lot more text, basically, a lot more text. A lot, if there's more bullet points, it'll add more bullet points. So you just expand it on the answer, right? So you add in more text. Okay. If I click on try again and I say more concise, it'll do that. If I click search the web, it will, instead of giving me the answer from general knowledge, it will search the web and pull up web sources as well. So this answer, because you don't see any little logos here that is search the web, it's 100% from its knowledge base. Okay. So if I click on try again and click on search the web, it will write its answer internally, but it'll go to the web and try to get an answer from the web, and then come back and give you a more an answer that's expanded by the web. Now, does the web means it's correct or not correct? I don't know. Like, that's a different situation that you would have to audit particularly. But next to each answer, it gives you a little link that says where it got the information from. So in this case, it got information from two places. It got it from the IRS website, okay, which probably we can trust. And then it got this other website called SDO CPA, which is another accountant or an accounting firm. And I don't know if the owner of this website is here on the live webinar or not, but I don't know if this is accurate. I'm gonna have to go read it and see if it has any sort of accuracy. Okay, so I have to make sure of that first. Now, it searches the web. This was published not too long ago. It actually talks about the Big Beautiful Bill Act. So there's obviously updates, so to speak, to the stuff. So that could be useful. But again, you get links to all that stuff, and it does all that. Now, I could tell it to do it again, but only pull data from the IRS or from the Treasury website, and then I'll run it again and only do that. So let's try that. Let's say try again, but only search IRS or Treasury websites. Only .govs. Okay, or something like that. Okay, so I can tell it to only check those, and then it also, just going to go back for a second while it thinks about that. there's a little link here that tells you where it got all the sources. So if you click on that, it opens up the control panel on the right hand side, which gives you sort of a history of where it's getting the information from. So it's getting it from a YouTube video, it's getting it from the RelayFi website, from Crest Capital, from the Mercedes website, from Block Advisors, IRS. It has so you get a really keen understanding of where it's getting the information from. And then the second answer that I asked, which is this one, the one I said only refer to irs.gov, then you see all the little things here is IRS only, IRS only, IRS only, IRS only. So you get to see all the references that are strictly to IRS. And again, there will be situations in which you may want to see IRS only, or situations where you may not. Like, not all situations are tax. Sometimes the situation could be accounting. It could be other sort of circumstantial thing that we're doing. So that's what all these buttons do. And if you don't like the answer, you click on Bat Respond, and then you give it a little bit more feedback. Now, this is not, this doesn't affect your personal account. It actually affects all of ChatGPT, because this is how you sort of train the model, so to speak. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the free version. If I go into the settings here, the free version doesn't have the ability to turn off, or by default, it has improved the model for everyone. So if you click here, you could turn it off, but you have to manually turn it off. Whereas when you are in the team edition, the business edition, improve the model for everyone is turned off automatically. So you kind of have to know one step further that if you don't want any of your conversations, any of your data to be sent back to their servers, again, to improve their model, so to speak, you have to go in there and turn this off. Now, because of security, because of how they framed the difference between the free editions and the paid editions, I would strongly recommend that if you are going to be putting any client information or anything that could be misconstrued as or could be interpreted as client personal information, I would be on the team edition at the very least, so you have all those enhanced controls in case so your account doesn't get hacked or whatever. Perfect. Okay. So these are the very, very, very basics. Now I'm gonna log out. I'm gonna log into one of my team accounts, the paid account, the one that I would recommend everybody should be on, especially if you are an accounting firm and you need that enhanced security. You want to be on that team edition. Okay. So in my particular case, I actually have both a personal account, a paid personal account, and a team account. So if I click on my name here on the bottom, I can switch between my corporate account, this is the Alt Accountant LLC account, and my personal account. So anytime I'm doing any sort of personal stuff, I chat with it only on my personal account. Anytime I'm doing anything in which I want to share with someone else in my team, I will be on the team account. And the reason for that is because team conversations can only be shared with other team members, whereas on the personal account, you can share with anybody that you want. Okay. And again, all this stuff that is searching the web. Anytime you ask it a question, it searches the web and can search within your historical chats, which we'll discuss in a little bit, or it can search the web only. So let me give you an example. If I click on search chats, I have a whole history of chats here. So I've had conversations with ChatGPT in the past. If I scroll down here in my left navigation bar, I have I've had a lot of historical conversations with ChatGPT. I'm scrolling. I've been using ChatGPT for 3 years. Okay, so there's a lot of context I have built with ChatGPT over the years. You can tell ChatGPT to use that context or not. You actually have complete control over that. The way you control that is by clicking here on your name and then going into Customize ChatGPT. And this is the first area where you sort of customize general ChatGPT, and then you turn it off or on. There's a little on or off button. So if I click on Enable for new chats, essentially the information I gave it applies to every single chat. If I turn that off, then this context doesn't apply to every chat. The other setting here, so that's the general settings. The other settings here is I'm going to go back into settings, and then I'm going to go into personalization. And then there's an area called memory, reference save memories. So I'm going to turn that off. Okay. Once I click on turn off reference save memories and turn off reference record history, none of the history that I ever had with ChatGPT is recorded. So I have no custom instructions, no memory, no context. So when I ask it, if I tell it, tell me something about myself that I might not know, right? Now you would, the most important thing is, are we expecting this to give me an answer? Are we expecting this to give me an answer that makes any sense? But if it has no context, it should tell you something that it doesn't know. So I get like all it has. It says right here, I don't have access to your personal memories or hidden facts. What I can look through is the work-related docs or updates in ChatGPT, and then it says, would you like me to share your internal docs? So that's another piece, which is which internal documents I have given it access to. So when I click on the settings and then go into connections, I have connected a Dropbox account and I have connected a Google Drive account. So if I disconnect that, again, if I disconnect that, so I disconnect my Dropbox, and then I go back and also disconnect my Google Drive, and I have Gmail, I have a bunch of connections to it. So if I disconnect all of it and I have no active connections, and then I'm gonna start and do it one more. I'm gonna do it one more time. Start a new chat. Do it one more time. Then it's just gonna tell me, hey, there's absolutely nothing I can answer. Okay, so it has no answer for me. It just gave me random facts about human body. Okay, so that's a really important piece, and I'd probably say this is the single most important contextual piece about this is, do you want a ChatGPT that knows nothing about you, that has no context, or you want it to know something about you? And the key element here is that if you don't want it to do anything about you, okay, then you want to turn off all those things. Not connect any Gmail accounts, not connect anything like that. Turn off all the historical searches, the memory, all that stuff. But if you wanted to do, if you wanted to know something about you, and kind of like where the enhancement that would be is that then you do not have to give it additional context every time you type something. So for example, if I say something like, I want to explain to my client how Section 179 works for a vehicle. Okay. So remember, it doesn't have any context. It doesn't know anything about me. I just, it doesn't even know if I'm a CPA. Like, it doesn't know anything, right? So then you go and you put something like that, and then it starts giving you an answer. Okay, and it'll do a great job. It'll clearly explain it. But if I have to tell it, I'm a CPA and I want it to be this style, that style, I would have to add that into the prompt. Okay, so if I want the answer to be significantly different, and by the way, this answer it's absolutely correct. But if I want it to be significantly different in style, then I want to add some context. So there's a couple of, again, we're going to go back and change the settings here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go into personalization. I'm going to turn on the memories. I'm going to click on manage here just so you can see. And then every single conversation I've had with ChatGPT that I told it, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that, right? So if I tell it, remember this, it saves this information and it will keep that information for context in the future. So for example, I'm going to come here, I'm going to start a new chat, and I'm going to say, remember, I am not a big fan of using vehicles for Section 179 deductions. I much prefer to have people record their miles and reimburse themselves the business miles. Okay, so I said remember. So when I do that, it's going to save it into the memory. So it says, I'll remember that. Okay, so once you do that, then later in the future, okay, so after it does that, I'm just going to do it one more time. Save into memories. Just want to make sure that it does save it into memories, to make sure it doesn't skip a beat, and then you actually get a little link here that says updated into saved memories, and that part you have to know, right? So here it says prefer mileage tracking and reimbursement over Section 179 deduction. That's a personal preference I built into ChatGPT. So now, if I am in my personalization settings and I'm saying reference save memories, next time that I go and ask it the same question, and I go explain to a client how Section 179 deduction works for a business vehicle, and because of my accent, it picked up sexual instead of section. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit send, and we'll give you the answer. So it goes. So it's gonna explain it, and I'm hoping that it pulls up the individual preference at the end. And if it doesn't, we'll do one more little tweak to it to get it to do that. So we'll see if it does that towards at the end. Let's see. Okay, so it did. So it says side by side comparison. And I will say, okay, I'm gonna say. So now write it in an email format and make sure that it includes all my personal preferences and biases. Okay. So now that'll write it. It should pull up. It should pull up from the memories that. So here it goes. I wanted to take a moment to explain how Section 179 works. It's explaining it. Quick example. Important trade-offs. Okay, my take right here. So it says right here. My take, personal preference. Section 179 sounds attractive. I generally don't encourage clients to buy vehicles solely as a write-off. I strongly prefer mileage tracking. Boom, 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 boom. So that's the value, right? That as you use ChatGPT to help you write letters or whatever, that you add all these context into the memories over time. That way you don't have to explain it on every single chat that I want to go this way, or that way. So that's going to be extremely important to save you time. Now I'm going to start a new chat. Let's talk about uploading files. So ChatGPT currently doesn't have access to your computer. It can't search through your computer. It can, in fact, search through your Google Drive. As we talked about earlier, we had connected Google Drive, and I can connect it back again and kind of show you that. Or you can upload any specific files that you wanted to work with. So if I click here on add files and photos, and I pick up any particular file. So I'm gonna pull up this file for a second, and for context, I'm gonna blow that up so you can see exactly the file that I'm looking at. So basically, I had a client. This is a good example. So I had a client that was renting a property, and I said, "Hey, could you give me a quick P&L of the property that we're gonna account for in your tax return?" And typical client, will write something by hand and take a picture of it with an iPhone and send it to us like this, right? Put in the chat if you get stuff like this from your clients. If this stuff is like, okay, yeah, I deal with this stuff all the time. So generally, I would have to go transcribe this, right? I gotta go in there and transcribe this. It's a pain in the butt, right? So I could take a file like this, upload it to ChatGPT, and tell it to do stuff with it. So I can say, can you turn this into a profit and loss that I'm going to use in a Schedule C form, and also point out any expenses that are probably not deductible or have to be modified in one way, shape, or form. Okay, and then I'm going to change it to Schedule E. That was me speaking. So I sent it a picture of a hand-drawn thing where the customer gave me, rents and expenses and stuff, and then I told ChatGPT to extrapolate the data and also do something with it, right? So here we go. It picks up a P&L statement. It's assuming it's last year's because right now it's 2025 and it's pulling last year's. There's rent received, and then here's the breakdown. So mortgage interest is specifically told me this might need separation, right? Because I gotta set up separate mortgage payment versus mortgage interest. I gotta make sure that stuff's separated out. There's property tax that says covers 2 years, might need adjustment. And then here's some key notes, right? So here's so if it's only the interest portion is deductible, principal payment is not. Break it down, and if you want to break it down in a clean half, I did a clean half for you. Realtor commission, repairs, HOA fees, insurance, etc. Okay, here's the adjustment draft. Likely deductible. It again, the mortgage interest requires an amortization table, so obviously it didn't do that with me immediately. It cut that property tax in half, and then it says here depends on whether the tenant related or cell related. So it breaks it down for you. So again, it's very, very cool because all I did was upload an image and it had it work like that. Okay, you can also have it generate images, which is not necessarily practical in my opinion, but it's more eye-opening than practical. So for example, I'm going to say generate a Walmart receipt for $500 for the purchase of an HP printer, but make it photorealistic to look like it was a picture of a receipt taken on top of the leg, blue jeans, of someone in the car using an iPhone. So again, I don't think creating fake receipts. So good. Now ChatGPT says I can't make it. Good catch. Not a fake receipt. I really meant training data because I'm showing a bookkeeper how to enter data in QuickBooks. So I need to have something that looks like a receipt so they know what to do with it. That's pretty cool. Like I said, I won't create fake receipts, but the workaround wasn't that challenging. All I said is not fake. I'm using it for educational purpose. So pretty interesting unto itself. And then as you see the image get created, you'll see it's like it's really realistic. And then you can go in there and tell it the specific store, the address, the phone number, and then it'll actually pull that into the receipt. For now, it's probably going to use a fake address and a fake phone number, and the receipt won't be as realistic. But over time, we're actually getting worried, about AI generating videos and generating images. It's like, can we trust, documents anymore? I've asked it to create a fake bank statement, and it's not that good at it yet, which is a little bit worryful to say it like that, because at the speed in which this is moving, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen pretty soon. So we'll see. We'll get back to this image as it's being created. I'm going to go back to the last document I had here, which is okay. So now it broke this down. It broke this down for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it create it in a clean CSV file. Okay, so like or Excel, right? So clean CSV file, clean Excel file, and it'll generate a digital format for you, an actual clean table of that data that you can download as a CSV file or an Excel file. So I click on that. It's going to open up in my Excel. Boom, and there we go. So I brought it to me in a CSV file. So imagine having tons of data points, handwritten, that you can convert into a spreadsheet to do your analysis or import it in a tax software or whatever. It's incredibly valuable, particularly for me as an accounting firm for these little things. I can't get ChatGPT like prepare a return for me or reconcile a bank account. I can't get it to do like the stuff that really would be helpful, but it's helpful at a little thing. So it sort of accelerates the process. Let's go back and see the image that it generated. There we go. Look at this. Isn't that incredible? It even puts like the gene in the background. It put the Walmart logo, which is perfect. It did make up an address, but again, if you would have told it, use this address, use this specific version, use this tax rate, it missed out on the tax rate, right? Put a barcode in the bottom or whatever. Like I could give it more stuff, and it'll continue to create that. So we're entering in a world where pictures of receipts and pictures of bank statements, it might not necessarily be a good thing, and it's going to be a point in which we don't necessarily believe in these things. So a post AI world is going to be interesting for sure. Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's start a new chat here, and we're going to talk about something else. So up here in the new button, you have agent mode, you have use connectors, you have deep research. I'm not sure if I'll have an opportunity to finish a deep research, because that one takes usually about 20 minutes or so. But let's try one. That's one of my favorite things to use. You can deep research on your connected documents, or you can deep research on the web. Probably one of the most useful ones, particularly for accounting or tax or whatever. So I can say, I need to learn in depth what are different ways with examples on how to book intangibles in the balance sheet. I am particularly looking for a software company that's growing really fast. I'm going to prepare audited financial statements. Okay. So you can go to deep research, send that. Again, I'm going to cross my fingers that before the webinar ends, that I'll be able to finish. Probably not. Again, it takes a while, but I want to show you what the process looks like. So then it asks you, it doesn't answer right away. It says, what should I focus on? So I'm going to say US GAAP. And then I'm going to say, the second question is, do you want any guidance specifically to internally generated intangibles? I'm going to say R&D software development mostly. Next question is, are there any particular intangible assets you're most concerned with? Let's say software IP. Do you want actual examples from public filings? Yeah, that sounds great. Yes. Okay. So it asked me 4 questions. I answer the 4 questions, send, and then it goes in its search and it goes and starts doing its research. So it's going to go all over the web and pull up all sorts of documents, put them together, and give me one unified document that contains that. Now, while that does that, I'm going to search my chat to see if I have anything that I've done before, where I can show you something that is done. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see if it did this. So I'm going to another. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, so I'm going to go back up just because it takes a while. So I'm going to go back up here and show you a deep research work that I did. So I said compare TaxGPT, BlueJ, CPA Pilot, and ChatGPT specifically for tax research and accounting tasks. If there are any others out there, let me know. Then it's asking me for the questions. Are you looking for comparisons, this and that? Then I say yes for CPA practitioners, and it went into his thing. And this one took 8 hours and 21 minutes. So back when I did it, it took 8 hours and 21 minutes. You get to follow its logic. So you get to read exactly what it did and how it arrived to the answer. So you get to read that whole thing. You see 21 sources of every single website that it looked at. So I looked at all the competitors, TaxGPT, BlueJ, Reddit, CPA.com, Business Blue Wire, CPA Pilot. Like it went into all the websites, all the accounting websites, all the accounting publications, and extrapolated data from everywhere, and then wrote this really big, comprehensive document. And I must have done this like a month ago, so it's really not that old. A big, comprehensive document that is a really, really long, deep, detailed analysis of all those 4 pieces of software and how can they contextually help you or not help you in the accounting profession. So it's a great example to use sharing. So I'll click on this little share button up here, click on share, and then I want to share this with everybody watching this webinar, right? So then I would click on create copy, and then what I would do is I would give you that link. So I'm going to go into my live chat here. I'm going to put deep research example. Okay, and then if you have the live slides, you can just look at that link. So you'll be able to click on this link on your ChatGPT, and you'll be able to do that. So I should be able to say that. So if I refresh, there will be a slide in the live slides for you to do that. And that's the only way I can give you access to that. Like you have to do it through. You have to go use the slides to do that. So if you don't have access to the slides, use that link right there, bit.ly /ChatGPT 101 /CPA. Here, let me just do that. I'm going to put that link really big here. So you can take a picture with your screen. If for whatever reason you can't, with your phone, for a reason you can't get the slides any other way. Okay, so that's the link if you want to get the live slides. So I'm gonna be putting all examples of the chats in there. So if you wanna, with all the shared chats, you can see everything, like you can read it, right? Because it's the most challenging part, in doing a webinars for ChatGPT is, there's a bunch of text on the screen and I don't have time, to read what you show on the screen, Hector, and then you're not reading it. So like, how do I know if the results are good or whatever? So that's what I have for you there. Okay, let's go back into, so this is the really long document, and again, that took 8 minutes. I think I said 8 hours. It took 8 minutes to complete. And then if I go back into my other chat here, the booking intangibles, that one's still working. So it's still working and doing its research. And again, I don't know if I'll be able by the end of the webinar if I'll be able to show it on the screen, but I will share it and then I'll put the link to that in the slides. So just keep those slides handy so you can actually go back and take a look at any of those. On the profit and loss adjustment one, this one, the one that I uploaded a picture on, I could do the same thing, and I can go into share and then click on copy. Okay, the image itself won't, the images are never shared, but the chat will. So if I go back in here and let's duplicate this, and then we'll do image reading example, and then I'll update that link right there for you. Boom, and then so you'll be able to also go into the slides and be able to look at that. So those two searches that we did, you'll be able to see them on your own screen. Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's do another example here, and I'm also monitoring the chat. So if anybody has any specific, questions, examples that they want me to use, I can use any of those. I can use any of those, for your examples. One of the common questions I get is about security. So it's the data that I'm putting in ChatGPT secure. So very important, I have to say this out loud, okay? I did not audit ChatGPT. I haven't been able to audit ChatGPT. There's absolutely zero way that I can tell you your data is 100% secure in ChatGPT. I can't make such an endorsement. They claim that it's secure. They claim, especially in this Team Edition, that they are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, and they claim that the data in there, no one will ever be able to see that information. That's what they claim. Now, the same token, the CEO, Sam Altman, in a podcast said, sort of like a throwaway line, said, well, remember that your conversations with ChatGPT are secure, but they're not necessarily confidential. In other words, if there's a subpoena and a court requires ChatGPT to hand over, your history with them, they are in legal obligation to submit that. Just like with search histories and emails or whatever, the data is not necessarily confidential. So it is possible that people that through a legal process, they can access the data that's in your ChatGPT, your historical data. So make sure that you don't do anything where you incriminate yourself, so to speak. Okay, cool. All right. One of the other things that people want ChatGPT to do is to sort of like crunch numbers. Okay. So let's say, for example, that I have a spreadsheet. I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet with some data. I'm going to pull it up right now. Just give me a second while I pull it up move it from one side to the other. So let's say, for example, I have a spreadsheet, right? And then this spreadsheet contains data that that was hand keyed or downloaded from a bank. It's a bunch of transactions, okay? And I want to crunch some of this data, right? I want to just do some crunching with it. So, what if I were to upload this into ChatGPT and have it do things for me, okay? Things that I could, just full disclosure, things I could otherwise do in Excel fairly easily. But we can have ChatGPT do it for us instead of us, pressing all the buttons in Excel. So I upload the spreadsheet, Excel file or CSV file, whatever it is, and I can say, organize this into a P&L format. Guess the expense category based on the vendor name. And all deposits are income, and give me a group for the questionable ones. Use a standard Schedule C for categories. Okay, that's probably good enough. So I uploaded a spreadsheet that contains a whole bunch of transactions in and out. I told it, guess the expense category based on the vendor name or depository income, and give me a group of the questionable ones. And then it goes into what's called analysis mode. So analysis mode will open up this table here. And in this table, you can click on expand table, which I really like. And then it gives you the table. And then it splits into split screen. And then eventually, everything that it's going to be working on, you're going to see it here on the right-hand side. It's running code, so to speak. That's what it's doing now. It's running code. And then when it's done running the code, it's going to insert all these categories in every one of these areas. And it could be wrong. Like in this case, it's like super dead wrong. And let me just get out of analysis mode. And let's say, let's try again. Give it to me organized in the chat. Okay, let's have it do it again. It kind of, I think it got confused because the other attempt at it just gave me one category called advertising and zero and the rest income. Doesn't seem correct. So I'm gonna have it try it again and put it in the chat. So here's his answers, right? So here's the gross receipts. Again, I'll open up the spreadsheet here right now for corrections, and let's view this a little larger so you can see the spreadsheet. Okay, if I select all the deposits, they all add up to 36,144.75, which I'm hoping it does it here. So I got that part right, not bad. And then we have our total advertising by category, and everything else is putting it under questionable. So it basically doesn't know what it is, right? So I'm like, hey, I don't know what any of these things are and what they could possibly be, right? So again, it's being honest, so to speak, right? Saying this is what I think this could be. There's a likely a transfer. So I'm just gonna say, just do best guess and give me a P&L. Okay, and if you add more context and you say this is the industry of the company, and this is they're based out of Miami or whatever, like you give it more context, it should be able to have better tools, so to speak, to be able to guess the categories a little bit better. But it was pretty honest with me that it did figure out advertising, which is the only category that it was pretty clear for them. And everything else, it just has no idea what it is, right? Is suggesting that transfer to savings could be an owner's draw, right? Which wouldn't be deductible. Here's another vendor that could be this, right? It's just telling you what it thinks it might be or it might not be. And at the end, it will give you something. It will give you an assessment. Okay, here's my Schedule C. P&L Schedule C, and it actually did the calculations for me. And then I could ask it to break down each category and the vendors per category. I can do that. So it can go that route, right? And then here's the non-deductible owner draws at the end, which were the withdrawals and the payments to credit cards. So great. Let me see if that deep research is done. Oh, there it is. Beautiful. Here's my deep research. Okay, and that actually wasn't that bad. That was pretty fast. That was 6 minutes. 6 minutes, 16 sources. If you click there on sources, you see where everything, all the data was from. I'll copy and paste this one also, the link in the chat. Now we're gonna wrap things up here. I think our CPA Academy folks are gonna run one polling question, which is, would you be interested on part 2? Like, do we need to do the next level of this? So a quick polling is up there. So we'll do deep research on intangible. Okay, so hopefully we did a pretty good job doing both tax and non-tax examples. That way you can kind of see that there is relevancy for accounting professionals. Obviously, different people have different things that they focus on. So I'm gonna leave the CPA Academy to do the outro. I want to thank everybody for being in this webinar today. If you're interested on a part 2, say yes so we can email you an invitation to that. Part 2, part 3. I mean, there's a lot to explore. Trust me when I tell you, I've been biting my tongue on many things I want to show you, but I only have an hour, and we want to get you excited about it, get you started. But if you want to meet me in person, you got to go down to Miami to Reframe. All the information is in the slides, and there's my email. So any questions you have about the work that I do, ChatGPT, AI, events that I do, go ahead and email me. So Hector@reframeaccounting.com if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, CPA Academy.